The Environmental Improvement Commission of Westmont on August 18th. Mary, you taking?
Roll call's been taken.
All right. So, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so tonight we are fortunate to have a representative from Scarce here to give us a presentation. Do you want to come up and introduce yourself?
Good evening. I'm Erin Kennedy with the environmental education nonprofit Scarce. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Scarce. We are celebrating our 25th year of environmental education and community outreach. So we've been doing a lot of kind of new programs, really trying to get our name out there even more so we can make an even more of a larger impact. Scarce, at its finite kind of mission, is natural resource conservation and pollution prevention. If we can prevent the pollution from ever happening, then we don't have to deal with the problem. And so we tend to make or try to make a connection with everything that we use, everything that we make in our natural, in our everyday life had to come from somewhere in our natural world. So if we can make that connection with residents, businesses, schools, we find that they're going to take better care of it and they're going to keep it longer. Good example is I got here tonight and there was a resident, that collected Altoid containers for us. Larry had asked, now do you just use these for recycling? And actually we, in our book rescue, we collect educational material for teachers and nonprofits to come in and get materials that they need for their classroom or for their school. And teachers will actually pack these full of crayons and then hand them out to their students. So it's a way that, we had some teachers that came in and got one for each student, put them in their desks for when they get to school, kind of a get yourself started for school kind of thing. So we really try to reuse, all materials as much as possible. It allows another opportunity for that resource to have value and have meaning. So just kind of one other things. We travel around to a lot of schools and businesses and we usually have stuff left for us, whether it be Altoid containers, ink cartridges, eyeglasses, different odds and ends to be recycled. And so like I said, Scarce is constantly looking at different programs, different things that we can do to minimize our impact on the environment. And one of the things that we started last year was our first ever pumpkin composting project. And through our research and through our work, we realized that Illinois is the #1 producer of pumpkins in the entire country. It's got a lot of nutrients and it's got a lot of value to it. So why not be leaders in the community and allow, other residents, schools, businesses to understand the importance of this. Last year we had 3 collection sites, Elmhurst, Wheaton, and then our facility in Glen Ellen, kind of Route 53 and Roosevelt Road. And in 3 hours of collection, we collected over 9 tons of pumpkins. So you think about all the nutrients, you think about the mass, you think about the water, you think about the diversion from a landfill. It's gonna go to a commercial composting facility. It'll get shredded, composted, and then it can be used as a really great soil amendment. So you're taking something that had no value, the family had used it, they carved it into a jack-o'-lantern, it starts to decay or get soft, they're immediately, trying to put it into the garbage. So if we can kind of get together, get the education out there, and let them know that this is a valuable resource, there's one more life for it, you don't just have to stick it into your, curbside disposal bin. It can get composted and then used again. So we kind of coordinated that with the Saturday following Halloween. We figured families or residents would hold on to that pumpkin about another week before they would be ready to get rid of it. So we kind of went off of that model. And then now we're working with some other towns to add this kind of service to their residents. So right now we have the Carroll Stream Park District, Downers Grove, Itasca, the Addison Park District, and so we are working with different communities here in DuPage County to see if they would want to add this or offer this service to their residents. So we're hopeful that we can collect even more pumpkins. And then through our work, this was a first-time project. It was a pilot project. No one had ever done this before, and we came into some legislation that needed to be changed. I know it sounds kind of funny, but Illinois had pumpkins set up as a decoration item. It wasn't a food item. So we technically, under our laws, could not collect the pumpkins and send them to a compost facility. So we had to work, I know it sounds silly, we had to work with Illinois EPA and then the Illinois legislature to change that language, to make it look like this is a food. If Illinois is the #1 producer of pumpkins in the entire country, we're not just growing them in order to stick them out on our porch. This is a food item, it's got value, and it can be composted. So those are some of the legislation bills that had gotten passed through our efforts. So it's kind of been a trial. It's been interesting to not only find out the information, through a legislative process, but then how important something like a pumpkin is to, the state of Illinois being an agricultural state and producing so many of them. Another project that we started, identifying another problem that we found with residents, is disposal of fats, oils, and greases. Residents aren't too familiar with the idea that garbage trucks are only for solid waste. You're not supposed to put liquids in there as a safety concern. The driver, the person handling it, doesn't know. It could be just water, it could be just milk, but they're not sure. So it can't go into your garbage. You don't want to dump it down the drain because, as you can see in that shot, that's built up over time of grease, of cooking oils, things like that somebody would dump down their drain. And then we worked with a lot of residents. We heard some different unconventional disposals. I talked to a resident that was actually dumping it in their backyard, and they created like an oil bog, basically, because the soil had become so saturated that they had to excavate that soil and refill it, basically. So there really wasn't a direct outlet for that. So rather than having residents not do the right thing, we offered this as a service. So once again, after the Saturday after Thanksgiving, the first year we had 21 sites. 19 of them were in DuPage County. The others were just on the border of Cook County. And we allowed residents the opportunity to drop them off, one of them being the Westmont Fire Department for 3 hours. We stood out there with basically a metal bin, and residents would dump their containers, mainly the 5-gallon oil containers that you would see from Costco after you fry a turkey or something like that. And then some of them were residents that were bringing in old or expired oils. They'd saved olive oil or cooking oil and they didn't know what to do with it. I talked to one woman who literally had 7 containers of oil in her basement for 10 years. So they know that it's not right to dispose of it in the ways that we're giving them. So it was important enough for them to hold on to it until there was an outlet to have that be used. So we worked with Green Grease and Chicago Biofuels. They actually will take that cooking oil, refine it, turn it into biodiesel, and they have a really nice partnership with Loyola University downtown, and they actually use that to power some of their on-campus buses. So it's a nice kind of closed-loop system. So right now, we're getting ready for the next cooking oil collection. With the first year that we had it, it was so successful that we actually established some permanent locations. So last year, we didn't have quite so many sites, but still had a great participation. So you guys can see how many, about 506 gallons of oil was collected. And then also just to point out the permanent locations, the Naperville Household Hazardous Waste site actually for a while did not want cooking oil or peanut oil, but once we talked to them and gave them some feedback about the service, offered to residents, they actually added it to their facility, so you can drop it off at the hazardous waste site. The Glenbard Wastewater Treatment Authority will take it, Winfield Township, the City of Wheaton, and then the Wheaton Sanitary District. So, and then just another update that we're doing at Scarce. We worked really kind of closely with a lot of the local towns, local cities to set up an RX box for proper medicine disposal, whether it be prescription or non-prescription. We worked with the DuPage Community Foundation to get a grant And so we've been able to purchase 7 additional bins for communities in DuPage County to help, allow them to drop off prescription and non-prescription medications rather than having them flush it down the toilet, mix it with coffee grounds or whatever other people tell you to do. So, and then something that's coming up, just an upcoming event, September 26th, the DEA is actually doing a nationwide drug take-back program for residents to drop it off at their local police station. And that's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So once again, just offering that service to residents.
What's the location for that particular event?
You would set it up with your city. So usually it would be,
So it'll be a variety of
yeah, it
events.
would be at the police, it would either be at your police station or your village hall. Another program that we have coming up, October is actually Healthy Children's Month. And so on September 30th, Scarce has partnered with the DuPage County Health Department. We've partnered with EPA, National EPA, and then a couple of other smaller kind of health organizations to provide a couple workshops for teachers, daycare providers, anybody that's dealing with children on a way to create a healthy environment for them. So both, indoor and outdoor quality of life. We're going to be offering that 2 times in the day, 1 o'clock and then 7 p.m. because we know a lot of the daycare providers don't get out until at least 6 or 6:30. So this would allow them the opportunity to come as well. So that was our flyer from last year. We had one workshop that was given at the Regional Office of Education in Lombard, and then the second one was at the Wheaton Park District. So we had about 60 attendees. So we're hoping that number will increase. And then we usually get a few recycling extravaganzas at the end of the year, just before the cold comes. So this is kind of our current fall lineup. Obviously, we've got Downers Grove on the 19th, Hanover Park on the 26th of September, and then Winfield Township and Addison Park are both in October. So there's a couple last chance events for residents to clean stuff out, and after the summer events have gone on, that they can kind of look at stuff within their home and find a new home for them. Any questions?
You mentioned last year that you did the oil collection in Westmont. Is there plans to do that again this year?
I've heard interest. I would love to help out with that if that's something that Westmont.
I've already talked to our fire chief.
Okay.
And that's the location where we had it last year.
Yeah,
And he's open to it, so.
Great.
So we would love to confirm
Yeah,
that.
it was me and a couple of high school volunteers that needed service hours, so it worked out for them. They came out for a couple hours and were on their way.
So I just followed through with you in terms of locking in time and all that?
Yep.
Great.
Collection.
Can I ask what site that was last year? Which
This is the fire department on Cass.
On the south side.
Isn't that the same place that we do the string?
Yep.
Can we had talked earlier about doing the lights, the Christmas lights. Can we also have the bin out there that same weekend?
Oh, to have them out in advance.
Because we were saying like people put up their Christmas trees Thanksgiving weekend or start and then they know that lights aren't working, so.
Absolutely, that's just a matter of us, we work with Elgin Recycling on that particular program.
Yep.
And so it's just a matter of us confirming with them that they're good with that. But if so, then that's a great idea, we'll get them both
I mean,
out
like
there.
we can advertise them both
Sure.
together.
Definitely. That'd be great. Yeah, and people love one-stop shops where they can go through and get a lot of stuff from their home and then drop it off in the same place.
So with that in mind, are there any other opportunities that we can combine to that particular date that would be of value? So that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Offhand, I think the cooking oil is a nice partner with the holiday lights. That would be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
But I can,
think about it.
yeah, do some thinking and brainstorm with Kay, and I'm sure we can come up with some other stuff if you're looking.
Great.
Just slightly on that topic too, for something else is, doesn't some resident or something in Westmont usually have a coat drive or something?
Do you mean like
Like-
a
like-
collection for folks in need?
Yeah, like
There's-
the
there's a
winter
couple-
coat one?
Sure, there's a couple of different entities that do that, but the village employees actually have their own, and that starts about early November, and they do one that, they do two of them. So they do one that's sort of like in the late fall and another one in early winter. But maybe we can promote those at the same time. I do know that that collection is here at Village Hall for the most part, but maybe we can talk about.
I was just thinking like if they want to, put a box or something,
Sure.
Or a
Aaron's
landlord or
one-stop
something.
shop.
Right.
I don't know, I don't want to make the fire department.
Sure. I'll definitely look into that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where do you drop off old oil, like car oil or old gas?
The Naperville Hazardous Waste Site.
Okay, same place.
Are you familiar with the location change that they
I
went on?
don't know about a change,
Okay, if anybody's interested, they did change their location from, they used to run out of fire station number 4, very congested. Most people complained of large lines. So they've recently moved it to the recycling center on Fort Hill Drive with hopes of adding longer hours and then hopefully a weekday opportunity for residents to drop off. But here's the,
Aaron, if you have the actual address, would you mind stating it so this way they can
yeah, of course.
Thank you.
see it in the presentation?
Yes. The new location for the Naperville Household Hazardous Waste Site, and that's a regional site, so you don't have to live in Naperville, you don't have to live in DuPage County. That is 156 Fort Hill Drive, and they are open Saturdays and Sundays. I believe they're now open 9 to 3 on Saturdays. They added an extra hour, and then 9 to 2 on Sundays.
Glenn, can you, on the overhead projector, put up the flyer here? And can you just kind of talk through all the different things that they offer there? That way, people who are maybe unfamiliar,
Okay.
and if you can see on screen exactly where you're at with that so that people can see that at home.
Okay, yes, and this is probably the most common. People are going through their garage, they're going through their chemical closet or places within their home. So the items accepted are acid, aerosol spray cans, antifreeze, batteries. Just make sure they're sorted by type, so all the alkaline batteries have to be together. Fertilizers, they will take fluorescent tube lights. Gasoline, the gas oil mix that you would have for your snow blower. Household chemicals, insecticides, pesticides. They will also take your prescription medications with the RX Box program. Oil-based paints. They do not take latex paints, though. That's kind of the biggest call that we get. If you go to Scarce's website, there's a great video on proper disposal of that material. Paint stripper, pool chemicals, propane tanks, solvents, stains, thermostats, thermometers, and then various furniture varnish.
And what are some of the items that people are maybe looking to get rid of, but they're not accepted at this location? What are maybe some of the things
Okay,
that come
yeah,
up?
some of the biggest ones are electronics, fire extinguishers, sharps, medical equipment in that way. The biggest one is the latex paint, because most people see oil-based paint and they think that's also, kind of goes along with it, but it is latex, so. And smoke detectors. Smoke detectors is also a big one as well.
And here in Westmont, just a reminder for folks who are listening to this tape recording, we have electronics recycling through the township.
Yep,
And that's the third Saturday of every month, 8 a.m. to noon. I believe the address is 318 East Quincy Street.
Okay, perfect.
So want to make sure residents are aware of that opportunity as well.
Yeah, great. Anybody else interested in, I brought extras if anybody else is interested in an updated.
I'll take
hazardous
one.
waste sheet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
And then another thing that we talked about on the phone a little bit, and it's just sort of a question that kind of comes up generally, for people who are interested in making changes at home with whether it be products, that they purchase, or just behaviors. Can you talk a little bit about conservation, or where people can get that type of information if they're looking for, how to make improvements through home?
Okay.
You have things on the website?
Yeah,
that
we have
can-
stuff on our website. Scarce does a lot of, we always have somebody in the office to answer questions, proper outlets for things. We also have 2 newsletters that we send out with upcoming events, different, programs or workshops that we're offering as well, so.
So they would contact you to get on the distribution list?
Yeah.
For
Yeah, and that's as simple as just an email.
okay.
Yeah.
But you recommend people to contact you, both email and phone, just as a resource for anything?
Yeah, any questions.
Anything green?
Anything that comes up, upcoming recycling events, we get a lot of calls on those where they can, properly shred documents and things like that. So we really try to be a resource for the community on pretty much anything that can help out with our
Erin,
environment.
can you give us for the people listening, your email address and as well as a phone number in
Yeah.
case people want to contact Scarce?
Of course. The Scarce phone number is area code 630-545-9710, or you can also email us at info@scarce.org, or our website is www.scarce.org.
And on our village website, on our environmental improvement and green page, we do not attempt to replicate all the things that you do. So what we do is we just have a link.
Okay,
And we
yeah, that's
list
great.
all the things that you guys do and say,
That's
click here.
perfect, because things
you
are
guys
constantly changing,
right.
what people are allowing, and things that they're no longer allowing are always constantly changing, so that's good.
Absolutely.
Do you ever receive any feedback on anything that residents are asking for in terms of recycling or programs, but don't currently exist?
One thing that we get a lot of calls on are document shredding, safe document shredding, and it's hard because there's only, a select amount of communities that are doing it. So that's usually a call that we get that we would, like to see more of, because there's, something comforting about seeing your important documents being shredded on site and then, disposed of correctly, so.
And do you sponsor events like that?
We have in the past, we've done a couple electronic and document shredding events at Scarce. That was a few years back, but usually it's a nice partner. Document shredding's a huge draw for people to come out. It's kind of an added incentive for them
Sure.
to get out.
So we had there was an event in May, I believe, at the police station, and then do they do another one in the fall? Or?
Yeah, they just did one and unfortunately had its problems. We wanted to partner a document shredding event with our event, the Street Fair. And the idea was to try to do anything that we could do to bring attention to the street fair. And we had no idea that the street fair was going to grow to what it's become this year. And so because the street fair is so large, it caused a decent amount of issues in terms of people not being able to find how to get there. So we got, a few phone calls and concerns about it. So it's one of those things that we learned from, and we'll just make sure that it's more of a standalone event and not partnered with something like that. Because even in the past, we had conversations about thinking that it would be a good idea to do document shredding during the Taste of Westmont. And now that we've had this experience, like, nope.
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea.
So there's not another one planned potentially until the
And with
spring,
the
then?
village. And those two document shredding events are actually hosted by the police department, and they're run as fundraisers for Special Olympics.
Yeah.
And there's two local companies that also donate their services and time to come out and do that. And so we're very appreciative of their sponsorship. But for the rest of this year, we don't have anything scheduled.
Okay. Yeah, I was at the one. Oh, you were at the one as well in May, and yeah, it's probably 100 cars or so. Drop stuff off because we were collecting for the light bulbs as well. So it was more people than I think we thought were coming for document shredding, but yeah, it seemed to be popular. So
It's a huge-
I'm
and-
not surprised that you mentioned you get a lot of questions
A
about
lot
it.
of calls, and then also your light bulb or tube lights whether it be CFLs or things like that, we get a lot of calls on too. So it's nice that you pair
Okay.
both of those together.
Great.
Any other questions? Well, Erin, thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank
Hopefully I'll
you.
see you
Thank
guys
you.
again too.
And Erin is a Westmont resident, and she now has an open invitation to come to all of our EIC
Awesome.
meetings.
Then I will see you guys regularly.
So, yeah, thanks so much.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming,
you.
Erin.
Okay.